If you hear me. Awesome. Yeah, hi guys. So today we're going to do a little bit of kind of a mixture of different things, because I had a few requests in from people just to say that we do listen to you when you ask us to cover things. So we're going to do some shoulder and neck work first, and we're going to kind of see how we can tie things together towards the end. But we're gonna start with a little bit of neck work. Also had a little bit of a request from someone who had some issues with their knee. Hi to Calgary too. Their knee last session. So just to cover off a quick hack for you for those who were having issues with that position, and then we'll get straight into a little bit of neck and shoulder work. You will need, just to highlight, a broom or some kind of long piece of tube. Remove the brush off the end, and we'll get to why you need that later on, hopefully. And then we have our normal foam roller, lacrosse ball, and then obviously if you need a yoga brick too. I'm sat on a chair, so if you're at your desk right now, you're in the perfect position, so don't move. You don't need to move yet. If you were not sat down on a chair, you could do this standing as well, that's fine, but one of the pieces you'll need a chair as well. So I'm just going to turn off the comments. Love to see you all kind of tuning in. I'll turn the comments back on at the end if anyone has anything they want to say, but otherwise, if you have any feedback, please leave it in the video that we post afterwards. It's always really useful just to find out kind of what you need from us and how we can help you, and so on and so forth. So, okay, so someone requested last week, or mentioned they had some issues with their knee, a little bit of tightness, tension around the knee. One of the things you can do and can try, which works really well with some of my clients, if they have no other contraindications other than the fact that they feel a little bit stiff in the knees, they don't have anything like arthritis or a knee replacement, they might just feel a little bit of tension, is what you can do is make sure that your knee is nice and relaxed, so your kneecap is moving, and it's kind of moving from left to right, okay? Once there's slack in your knee, you can do this technique, which is just a little bit of a cross friction above and below, just to get the tension out of the tendon. And that works really well at just helping that knee to slide a little bit more. It can help you to take out any unwanted tension that might already exist in the knee. I find it works really, really effectively, and it just means that, you know, my kneecap's a little bit looser and can glide a little bit better backs and forwards. Obviously, we're not looking for a dislocation, because when it stiffens up, sometimes that's just a natural adaptation to help it stay tight and stable. But sometimes it's also just where it stayed stiff for a very long time, you can actually get it to move backs and forwards, up and down, just for a little bit of cross friction. So you can do that if you had any issues with last week's session where we're on our knee. So feel free to try that. So without further ado, let's get started. So we're in our seated position, shoulder width apart, knees pointing out. I'm sat on a chair, as you can see, foldable chair. Hopefully it doesn't collapse or anything. That would be a funny video. Otherwise, what we can do is we can start in a nice tall position, hands on knees, stretching our spine up to the ceiling. Nice deep breath into the belly. As I breathe in, my stomach is filling with air. So you want to just trying to see if there's anything else going on. Now, first thing we're going to do today is we're actually going to start with a little bit of stretch using the chair. So you're going to reach underneath the chair. It can be as far back as you need to go. And we're just going to lean slightly away from our arm, keeping our shoulder slightly rolled back and down, bias behind us. We're just going to lean a little bit. And this can be really subtle, because we're just letting our body weight work for us. Once you're in this position, again, we're going to take a nice deep breath into our belly. And we're just letting our body weight do the work. Now, if you want to take this up a level, what you can do is you can bring your arm over the top. We can add a little bit of a neck stretch. And you only want to move as you breathe out. So just letting that parasympathetic nervous system kick in, that relaxation. We're just adding a little bit of traction, just a little bit of a hook on the scalp, just to help kind of pull it over the top a little bit as that tissue kind of opens up. We can change angles if you need to, just glide backwards and forwards. And we're just breathing out. Let it release, just let your shoulder relax just a little bit, and just see if there's any change in the distance between your ear and your shoulder. Just see if that feels any better. And just see if that feels different on your left-hand side, or if you're working your opposite to your right, and just see kind of if that feels any better. Obviously, should have started with a little bit of a check-in like we normally do, so you can just remember to do that on your second time through. Now, if you want to add any more stability, what you can do is just put your arm on the inside of your leg. So we're just going to go back into that same side while we're here. So we're going to keep switching from side to side, and we're now going to turn our chin down to that bottom corner. So I'm going to be facing slightly away from you. Just imagine that you're going top corner pocket, and we're going to hook from the top away from that anchor point on the side of the chair. So again, nice deep breath in. We're getting a deep stretch that should run down the neck this way. And we're just falling into that new range as we breathe out. Let's roll the shoulder out. Let's see how we feel. And let's just come into a little bit of a stretch away from us, a little bit of a nerve glide. And if you remember from the last time we did this piece, we are pushing our hand down as we bring it away, and then bring it back up. Or if you're looking to flush from left to right, you can also take it to step 2, which is where you bring your head away from that anchor point and down, just threading that nerve left and right. We're just getting that sensation out the shoulder. I'm going to show you another exercise later on that will really focus in on just releasing that shoulder blade a little bit more, but for now we're going to switch to our left hand side. So we're going to anchor from the left hand side underneath the chair. We're going to pull our shoulder back, down. We're going to keep our spine nice and tall as we lean to begin. Nice deep breath in through the nose. Just leaning our body weight to the right hand side. You should feel a little bit of a stretch into the neck area. Now let's take it to step 2. We're just going to have a little bit of a hook on the neck. If you're already there, obviously just you know what to do, so just carry on to the next step if you need to. Take a nice deep breath in. We're just hooking up and over, keeping our nose facing forward. Using that arm as an anchor point. Now we only want to get to about 7 or an 8 out of 10 on this one. Don't want to go any further because obviously that's going to stretch too much, cause too much for sensation, possible nerve issues or entrapments. So just a 7 out of 10. Excellent. So now we're turning our nose towards that top corner pocket that way. We're hooking from the back, from the occipitals, and we're lifting up and over towards the knee. So you may even feel that move into the shoulder a little bit if your nose is really pointing towards your armpit and you're giving yourself a nice big sniff. If you feel it there, that's probably your levator, which is an area which we get really caught up in. And again, just re-hook, we're lifting up and over, pulling the shoulder down towards the floor. And let's just check back in. Let's just see how the shoulders feel. Mine feel great right now, feel excellent. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to bring our hand out to the side. We're going to bring our hand down towards the floor and then back up as we bring our head this way. So you can't quite see my arm. I'm just going to slide across so you can kind of see it from an angle. We're bringing our head this way as we bring our hand up and bring our head towards our hand as we bring the hand down. So just kind of flossing that shoulder out, just get that nerve kind of loosened up a little bit, just to kind of see how it feels. So let's lose the chair now. We're going to move to the floor. So we're going to be back on our feet a couple of times, but we're going to just get rid of the chair. So let's just come down to the floor. Just going to get rid of our chair for now. We're going to start with a little bit of T-spine mobility on the floor. So we're going to start with that. Let's grab our foam roller. It doesn't matter which one you have. If you have just an object you can roll over on top of, we're just going to do a little bit of breathing just to loosen up that T-spine. So T-spine, technically, we don't want to roll out our low back today. We're just going to focus on the T-spine. So imagine in line with your rib cage, roughly just slightly above there will be a good start for most people. I'm going to come down a little bit. So again, in line with the just where the sternum is, and come up just a few inches above that, just to stay safe. Okay. So first thing we want to do is get our start position. We're going to reach our shoulders up, and we're just going to come back just a little bit just to work into our T-spine. Just imagine that we're just kind of seesawing a little bit, pivoting on the T-spine, the thoracic vertebrae, just kind of getting to open up, and we can even come side to side. Really, really good one, because we want our T-spine to be nice and mobile. People that have generally low back issues tend to have a little bit too much play in their lumbar spine and a little bit too much stiffness in their T-spine, and that can obviously cause major issues. So again, I'm stretching up and over. If you need a little bit of support, you can also hold your neck with your hand, or you can put a yoga block down just to help that neck tension that you might build up during the exercise. Okay. So again, key points for this one: we're starting our start positions. Reach up. You can even bridge a little bit to add a little bit more downward pressure. We can also come side to side, just to kind of work in between that vertebrae. And now we're just going to move up just one more. So now we're just going to move up one segment, and right there I can feel a little bit more tension. So I'm just going to add a little bit of stabilization there. I'm just going to work that shoulder back if I have any neck issues. So reach, reach, reach. See how that feels. We come back to center. We can even bridge up to add some more tension, and that's going to allow me to pivot a little bit more if I need it. I can come side to side if I need to. And again, with this, try and go slow. You don't want to go too fast. I want about 6 or 7 out of 10 in terms of pressure on this one. And I want to breathe really nice and deep and just kind of hang out. So again, let's just go through this one in full, so without all the talking. And we're going to take a nice deep breath in. Going to reach up. You can even have your hands together. And move down one segment. If you need to stabilize your head, do that too. You can even start in this position, that's better, and just pivot with your hips. Awesome. So while we're in this position, we're going to work a little bit into our lat as well, because it's a big area of opportunity for a lot of people. If you can imagine, the lat connects the arm to the lower body as a common attachment down by the base of the hip. So we're going to want to work a little bit under here as well, just to loosen up that overhead position. So we're going to lay on our side this time. I'm going to try and face you at all times, but we're going to lay on our side, and we're just going to start about halfway up the rib cage. And we're just going to put a little bit of pressure, and you can even just bridge up slightly to add some downward pressure. Turn a little bit more so you can see. And it can even be a little bit tender in here, where the serratus kind of gets really kind of bound down, and even within the intercostals as well, and you get this kind of build up of tension in between the ribs. So we're just going to roll up more towards the armpit. This is where a lot of people get tension. Take a deep breath in. We're just going to roll slightly forward, so roll our shoulder forward, and we're just going to roll back slightly as well. So deep breath in. Push down to the floor. Let's just roll back to the forwards. This can get really intense fast. I've done this a number of times myself, and it gets really, really tender real quick. So just go slow, do as much as you can, about 6 or 7 out of 10. And if you need more pressure, you can actually bridge up. So let's roll north to south now. So we're going kind of more inferior to superior, more towards the head. We're going to roll. Just follow our arm out slightly, open our chest up, and roll back, and then we're just going to move up towards the armpit and do the same thing. So now let's transition, just so we don't hang out too much and bruise ourselves up. And we're going to change position. Let's do our right hand side now. So again, if you don't have a foam roller, you can also do this with like a solid object. Sometimes I use like an exercise ball that also works, like a large exercise ball, not one of like the Swiss balls, but one of the like medicine balls or so on. So arm is straight out above us. We're just putting a little bit of downward pressure into the floor. We're pushing our hand into the floor. We're just going to roll our chest forward. And we're just letting our body weight sink into the ground. And then we're just going to go from side to side. Going to see how that tissue feels. And again, I'm a little bit caught up in that area too, probably more towards the rear of my shoulder. So I'm just going to roll back and forwards. We can even kind of rock forwards and backwards on that tissue, and we can even come a little bit more towards the armpit as well. So let's just move up a little bit. Let's just lift our hips a little bit, and let's just roll our chest forwards and backwards just to kind of loosen up. This is really going to help you to open up that chest as well and get that arm overhead just by loosening up these lat positions. Okay, so let's just come forwards and back. Just go superior to inferior, just roll shoulder up, all this lat up and down, this is serratus. So let's get rid of our foam roller now, and let's move into the shoulder. So we're going to move quick today. We're going to move through a few things, doing great on time. Excellent. So we're going to do a quick scour of the shoulder, and that's going to actually allow us to move into a couple of new stretches in a minute with our broom. If you haven't already got one, make sure you grab one now. So let's start with something we covered a few weeks ago, which is our levator scap. So for new people, we're just going to follow along. We're going to put our lacrosse ball. These are easily available kind of online or in sports stores if the one open near you. We're going to put it just towards the top of our shoulder, where normally everyone has a trigger point towards the top of the shoulder blade. And we're just going to raise our shoulder up. Let me know if you can't quite see, or if you can't, so it's coming from. We're going to reach up towards the ceiling in this position, and we're just going to see where we feel a little bit of trigger point. This is common for most people in this area, just to try and see if you have one there, and just try and pin it down. So once you've found it, I want to add one thing here. We're only looking for a 6 out of 10 on this one in terms of pressure, okay? So I'm on the lacrosse ball, my pressure's down. I can also bridge my hips up if I need to add more downward pressure. And we're just bringing our arm back. Just bring it back, just to add a little bit more pressure. And today we're just going to start with some circles. As I keep that pressure, might feel a little bit crunchy, might move, and that's okay. We're not looking to bruise it though, so frequency over intensity. And then what I'm going to do is stretch as far as you can down towards your hip, turn your thumb up, let's come all the way up, and this time we're going to sheath the sword, so we're going to turn our thumb across down to the bottom pocket. We're going to come all the way up again to the top corner, and we're going to come down again. Okay, so like you're unsheathing that sword, bring it up, bring it back down again to the bottom pocket. Just going to move to a new position so you guys can see me again. Going to work on the other shoulder. So what I want to do is make a transition so that we're going to hit the other shoulder the same place. Now that particular position with the lacrosse ball, you can scour your whole shoulder, go the whole way around the blade and spend a lot of time on it. But I want to make sure that you do breathe on that one, because it can get really intense fast. So again, let's just cover off the basics of this one. Gonna bring our shoulder into a position where we feel that tension or that trigger point underneath, and it could be anywhere around the shoulder blade, or it could be slightly above where our traps are, or even into where our neck and our shoulder blade connect, our levator scap. So you're gonna reach right up to the ceiling. You're gonna stretch, 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 stretch. We're going to sink our weight down, and then we're just going to start just moving the shoulder around, just see what we find in this position. And if it's not quite right for you, if it doesn't feel like the right position, find out if you need it, find another position, just move across. So again, circle, circle, circle. Round, round, round. Let's now reach down to the bottom. Let's reach down to towards our shoe on the right hand side. If you got me on the left. And then we're just gonna bring this arm up and over, adding a little bit more pressure if you need it, downward pressure that is. And then let's bring our thumb across the body. We're unsheathing that sword, so our thumb's gonna turn it up to the top corner, and then we're gonna bring it down, and up again, and down, and up. And if you start to feel it loosen, you can always move to a new position. This can get really, really jacked up for a lot of people in that position. And you can, again, you can go all the way around the shoulder blade, and you can try and work out all of those knots and really loosen up that back. So now we're gonna grab our broom handle, and you're probably like, why do we have a broom handle today? How's that gonna help? Now, ideally this would be a little bit taller because I'm 6'1". It's a little bit short for me, but for some people this might be the perfect height. If you can get it a little bit longer, great. What we're gonna do is we're actually gonna work into a little bit of our subscap, which is an area, subscapularis, if you can imagine that this is my shoulder blade on my back. Underneath it, there's a muscle that kind of gets stuck onto the back and can often not get released when we kind of stretch. We're going to work into that. So it's going to be really uncomfortable. Bear with me. Make sure you follow along once I've kind of shown you, okay? So I'm just going to crouch down slightly so you can see. Now, we're going to have the bar just underneath our shoulder blade, and you're going to go super slow, not a lot of pressure on this one because I don't want anyone to injure themselves, but it can be really good for just helping to lift that scap away from your back. So you're going to lean forward slightly onto the weight. This is going to gently rest against the scapula on the back, and you may even have a knot in that corner. And we're just going to raise the arms slightly, add a little bit more downward pressure. I'm going to raise the arms slightly, a little bit of downward pressure. See if you need to move positions. Try not to get it to tuck too much at the skin. This is something that some clients have mentioned before. So just a little bit of downward pressure, work out where, and if you have any issues in that area, and just roll the shoulder in and out, just to see how that feels. You can move your hips as well. Lift your chest up. I was lucky enough to cover this off with one of my clients this morning. It worked really, really well for them. So I thought I'd share this with you guys too. It can be really good just to get that shoulder blade to slightly lift away and loosen up. And it can also help that overhead position, which we were just working on the floor as well. So we've kind of tied everything up here, lats serratus, and the rib cage, and now we're working on that subscap as well. So again, let's start in this bottom corner where the shoulder blade kind of overlaps the musculature in the lat, and then we're just going to push this a little bit underneath, not too much that hurts, but enough so you kind of feel a little bit downward pressure. And now we're just raising the arm up slightly and letting it come down. And as you kind of sink your body weight in, you may even find that it starts to light your eyes up a little bit as you find a little bit of a pressure point there. If you don't have a broom handle, not a problem. You can also, if you're gentle, you can also work this out with your thumb as well. I just find that it's a little bit easier if it's a bit more passive. So just kind of find out where you need it. Move your hips as well. Just going to rock back and forwards. A little bit more down pressure. Lift your arm up as well. And then just kind of see how you feel. One of the things you want to make sure we do is just check back in each time we do this. So next thing we're going to do with the broom handle or dowel rod or whatever you have to use is going to be a little bit of external rotation. Now we've kind of loosened this up a little bit. We want to kind of build on that with some external rotation. So obviously you want to kind of bring the broom handle behind the arm. If you can, grip the bar, so you can start off behind, bring it behind the arm, and this is really going to help us kind of bias this external rotation position. Okay, this is really going to help build up some external rotation, which is lacking with a lot of people. So we're just going to start with a nice neutral position, and we're just going to lift with this hand. So you can't quite see what I did. I started off on this side with this grip, I brought it behind my elbow, and now, so again, from the front, bring it behind my elbow, and I can leverage the dowel rod just to turn this arm down. So if you have reasonably okay range like myself, should get to about there. If you're someone who is starting to develop the overhead range, please don't rush this. Take it nice and slow, okay? So let's start in the first position, which is kind of a neutral position, nice and tall. I'm just gonna lift it slightly, And we're just going to take some breaths in that position because we want to make sure this stays structural. So nice deep breath in. I'm just going to lift slightly as we breathe out. And as you do this, make sure you pull your shoulder blade down towards the floor. We're just going to hold that for 5 seconds, okay? 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're just going to bring it back to our start position. I'll face you so you can see we're turning out slightly by lifting the bottom of this rod up, pulling our shoulder blade down behind our back. And we're just going to do that one more time. Just hold it for 5 seconds. And then let's switch to the other side. Roll your shoulder out. I'm going to show you how to do a little bit of stability on that, a little bit of closed chain stuff in a second. Same thing, we're holding the handle, we're bringing it behind our elbow, and we're just going to externally rotate slightly, so you can do it in front if you like this way. So facing forward, we can bring it in line, which I find is easier because then you pull your scapula behind you. And we're just going to lift up, sorry, just face you, lift up slightly from the bottom, facing forward, hold it, and down. I'm a little less mobile on the shoulder, I will admit. And we're just going to do it one more time. And this I'm going to hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And again, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, awesome. So again, something just to give you a little bit more of a flavor of what you could do. Some of the stuff around your home, just kind of help loosen up your shoulders, kind of open them up. Well, a very good range externally and internally rotating. So that could be a little bit of work to practice. Last thing I want to get you to do is a little bit of closed chain work just to reinforce that last piece that we did. So find a wall. I like this one. I use this on my clients all the time. We often do this on the floor, but you can do this standing as well. Is we're going to put some pressure into the wall, and we're going to turn our body to face, and we're going to turn in. But whilst you're pushing into the wall and keeping that arm straight and that scapula pulled down across your back, you're just going to open your chest up. So some people lack that ability to move their arm in that open chain position, so we're just going to close it and we're going to move around it. It's a little bit of a hack to get that in position to work for you. And I'm going to do it probably on this wall this time so you can see me, this door I should say, and we're just going to turn in and turn out. And the key thing with this is keep your arms straight, your scapula down across your back, and make sure that you're putting a little bit of pressure into, I'm putting it into a door, but you can put it into a wall or into the floor, and you're turning in and around. We can even dip down a little bit and up, and that makes your stability piece right at the end of the stretches that much more effective. Awesome. So thank you so much for joining me today. I know there was a lot of talking today. Some new stuff, some new content for you guys. So obviously if you have anything that you want us to cover, if there's anything you kind of noticed when you're reviewing it afterwards, feel free to leave it in the comments section of the video we post after this. So we always post this up every week for you guys, so you can kind of follow along if there's any reference stuff. Last week was hips and adductors, so you can always go back and check that. If you have anything you want us to cover, if you have anything that's kind of niggling you and you want us to kind of cover, like aches and pains and things like that, feel free to message me as well. And if there's any questions you have, you can also message me at Fascial Stretch Simon, and I'll try and help you out personally. Okay? Thanks so much. Have a great week. You can join us again this time next week, 11:30. And if there's, as I say, anything you want us to cover, we will obviously get back to you with it. All right? Thanks so much for your time, and I will see you guys next week.